Welcome to Hochoka Podcast.
The 2024 Zikala Shah quarter is the 15th coin in the American Women Quarters program. Who is this woman minted by the United States Treasury, and why does that matter to all of us? Hello, Medaki AP. Welcome to Hochoka here at the center of St. Joseph's Indian School's campus. I'm Scott Wooster, today's Hochoka host. We're glad you joined our circle for part one of a two-part series about a Native American woman who was quite a force in the early 20th century. Today we talk with Larry Jandrew, a St. Joe's alum, member of the school's board of directors, and relative of Zikala Shah, who brought her to our attention for this podcast. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Always good to have you in the studio. We had you here a couple years ago, so some of our viewers might know you from that. And at that time, we talked about your history here as a student at the boarding school a few years back. And you're here for a different reason this time. Can you tell us a little bit about why you're here?
Yeah, I had brought this to the attention of some of the staff here at St. Joe's relating to Zikala Shah. We are somewhat related to her, and yet she's from Yankton. Mm-hmm. And so my ambition regarding her was to get as much out to everybody about her prominence, not just with our Native American tribes, but also women's right to vote, mm-hmm. which was back in 1920, and then our people became citizens in 1924. Yep. So it's just that she had such prominence, not for just our Native people, but for all people. For all people, for women as a suffragette, and as one of the early ones, she grew up in a very important time for promoting those rights that you're talking about. And I have to say, I was not familiar with her until you brought it to my attention. So I'm hoping this can influence as many people as possible. And I still know about this much, so I'm excited about talking to you today. I look forward to getting to know her better. So just fill us in a little bit about what her life was like, her early years, and what that would have looked like for her. When was she born, and those kinds of things. She was born in 1876 mm-hmm. on the Yankton Reservation. She had spent a lot of time in wigwams and teepees out on the plains, out on the bank of the Missouri River. And a lot of her feelings of being Native American are drawn from those early days, mm-hmm. and what she could derive her strength, the strength of her people, the strength of her family, so that she was later on, when the Quakers came to help her and other children go to another place for education, she was really entertained by that and felt that she wanted to do that against her mother's wishes. Mm-hmm. And I know it must have been hard on her mother. And so they came and got her, and there's different stories about the bright red apples in Indiana, and getting on the Iron Horse and going out that way. And that was all exciting to her. And again, despite her mother not being for it, she allowed her to go with them. Mm-hmm. And as they got on the Iron Horse and proceeded towards Indiana, she started thinking more about what she was involved in, mm-hmm. and not really knowing, because she was 8 years old, she didn't really have a real idea of what the outside world was outside of the Yankton Sioux Reservation. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of, her early beginnings. Right. And you take an 8-year-old girl, a young kid, and would see that world of possibility out there and wonder what it's all about and be curious and maybe want to get a little piece of that.
But at the same time, reality sets in when you're actually going, and it must have been hard for her. Was she known as Zikala Shah at that point in her life? Was she given that name from birth?
No, she was not, and she actually gave that name to herself, which is a little contrary to tradition, because generally it's given to you.
Right.
But later on in her life, as she got to experience being out in the world, and then she had thoughts of when she was a little girl on the reservation and experienced nature and the flight of a bird. And that gave her a feeling of still being close to her tradition, her family, her mother.
So she gave herself that name later in life, but let's jump back a little ways. What was her name as she grew up, first of all?
Her name was Gertrude Simmons.
Okay.
But actually her father, who was a non-native, his name was Felker.
Okay.
And I've read where, due to treatment of her mother, that's why Gertrude Bonin, later her mother met Mr. Simmons, and so she really cared for this Mr. Simmons, and she realized how much her mother liked that person and wanted to be with him, so that's how she took the name Simmons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zikala Shah refers to, what does that translate to in English?
That translates to redbird.
To redbird. And you had already mentioned the flight of the bird and her connection back to nature and to her family and all those kinds of things.
And I really think that it had a connection with her spirit.
Yeah.
That she wasn't going to be, the sky was the limit.
Yeah.
She could go any place with her talents, her education, her musical background that she got later.
Yeah, I like that. So let's step back again, and we go back to, she gets on the Iron Horse and goes to this place that, is full of, like you said, red apples and promise and education and new ideas, all those kinds of things that would be enchanting to an 8-year-old girl. She's wistful as she pulls away from her family. What does she find what school did she go to?
She went to the White's school, White's Manual School, it was called.
Okay.
It was run by the Quakers.
For Native children.
For Native children,
okay.
Yes.
Huh.
And it was kind of ironic that as reality set in, she was on the Iron Horse, and all of a sudden they started going by telegraph poles. And that was kind of a thing to her that, wow, it kind of made her anxious about where am I really going. So as they kept on going and got to the school, then things really became reality. And so she was there participating in what they did when they got there to school, admissions and everything. And then they were cutting the students' hair. And so she went up in the dorm or one of the rooms and hid underneath a bed. And they were looking for her, and finally she seen these feet coming towards this bed and everything like that. And they reached underneath there and found her and took her out of there. And then they proceeded to cut her hair. And in the native way, a lot of times people that had their hair cut was either because they were shunned by their own people, and or sometimes our native people would chop their hair with the loss of a loved one.
Right. So the implications of that were very strong already in the Native community. They understood why that would happen, and it was for very emotionally charged reasons. And then you show up at this school and they just do it out of habit and to kind of take that part of you away from you. Yeah,
right. I really feel like she was not in her culture's setting for her hair to be cut or anything like that. And so it was in another setting that this is done, and that becomes a disgrace.
Yeah.
That becomes her identity, that it's taken from her already.
Yeah.
She just got there.
Yep. And she says that is when she felt like her soul was taken from her, and she knew it at that point, that something was very, very wrong about what was happening to her.
Yes. Yes.
So what do you do with that? You're an 8-year-old girl. It's 1884. You're in the middle of this extremely traumatic time for the indigenous people, and what does she do with that then at that point?
I believe that she used it became persistence. That she wasn't going to let that affect her. That she was going to go on, and I really believe that she was out there doing everything and anything she could to pass the time and to put her mind on where she really wanted to go, not knowing at such an early age of what life was really about.
Right.
But again, she was Redbird.
Yeah.
So she wasn't going to let anything stop her.
Yep. So she's at the school. She's starting to figure some things out. What happens when she returns home? What's that like for her?
She goes through a lot of turmoil with her mother, because her mother is not liking this at all, and it's really hard on her, both her and her mother, that they have to go through this. But she convinces her mother that she wants to go on. And her mother finally kind of changes a little bit in that she believes that maybe an education is what she needs, because she noticed that how restless she was in her life, even when she came back, as at that time.
Yep, she needed to go and take care of things and find out who she was. And who is that? She goes back to whites again, and what happens there? That's when she really grows.
Right, and she gets, she's out there, she's doing a lot of other things, and she's into an oratory contest, and she does quite well there. However, she's met by some opposition of some other schools, which oratory contests at that time were dominated by usually males.
Okay,
and she had won her first prize in an oratory contest, which the school was very proud of what she had accomplished. And after that, then she kind of took off from there. I believe she gained some confidence and realized that no matter where I'm at, whether I'm at home or here, I'm going to go, and make a difference. She moves on from whites, and then she's thinking about what she can do next. And again, it went back to her and her mother. And she finally still decided, I want more education. She was hungry for education and the freedom that it could give her as any person, but as a Native American, that maybe she could make changes in some other things that she was advocating for. So she went to Earlham College for a particular time, and then she had gotten sick. And after that, she left there, but she had, by that time, gotten into music and was somewhat, played different instruments, the violin especially, the piano, and had quite a bit of prominence in concerts that she played in, and actually played for President McKinley.
Okay.
Back at that time.
And she was also teaching a little bit of music, right, at that time?
Yes,
she got so good?
Yes, she was. And she actually was at Carlisle Indian School, the first Indian school in the United States, and as a teacher. And then also she started teaching music there, too. Okay.
You can't overstate just how big a deal that is in 1890 for a Native woman, to be going to college, a woman to be going to college for sure, but a Native American woman to be going to college at the same time that Wounded Knee is happening out here. She's out getting her education, going to college. It's such a big deal. It really is. And I also think that going back to Carlisle to teach is kind of an interesting choice for her to make, to go back there. And, we look back in the lens of history, Carlisle has a lot of negative connotations to it for what they did. She ends up going there to teach and make a difference. What was her time like there?
It was very interesting, and I think it also helped build her character because Captain Pratt he was the main administrator of that school. Mm-hmm. And they had interesting conversations, or it prompted her to start writing more and putting things out in the Atlantic Journal about different ideals that he was promoting at the school, which one of them was to take the Indian, or take the Indian and make that person into a different being. Mm-hmm. And she, every time there was a statement made like that, she would rebut that in her writings, and she just didn't want to let things go the way the school was prompting them. So later on, she finally did leave there on account of that. But in the meantime, then she meets Raymond Bonnin. Okay. And Raymond Bonnin, they moved to Utah, and where he is working for the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
I'm just struck by how this girl, and now a woman, every place that she goes, she continues to grow and continues to have these formative experiences. And in Utah with her husband, she does the same. What does she learn while she's in Utah? There were some big things that led her to the point where she got to Washington in the suffragette movement.
Yes, she was very much involved with the people there on that reservation, and her husband being a BIA superintendent, that was kind of an interesting relationship there. And yet he was there for her too, and they got through it. But part of that was at the same time that she was writing, or was scripting and help writing the Sundance Opera with William Hanson, which later on was actually put into an opera in, I believe, New York, one of the bigger cities. Yeah. But by that time, she had passed away.
So I think that's a good high note, pardon the pun, to end on, is that that this gal, with all that she's done to that point in those times as a Native American woman, is part of the first Native American opera, which is absolutely just huge, and wouldn't have been a treat if she'd got to see that put on in New York City during her life while she was still alive. But it's an amazing thing. So we'll end there. We'll have to come back, and we'll do another session. We'll talk about what comes after that. We've packed a lot of stuff into this one, and I'm guessing we'll pack a lot into the next one too, because there's a lot that she's done. So thank you so much for sharing who she is with us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you to our viewers for joining us here at the center of St. Joseph's Indian Schools campus at Hochoka, where we talk about issues that are central to Native American education today. Until next time, stay centered.